Public forum is, I'm excited to teach you this one because there's some interesting opportunities for all of you. Show me your screen, show me your screen, show me your screen. Yeah. Whatever you're trying to finish, you'll have to finish it later. So, public forum is like policy, but easier. I like to think of public forum as like the perfect mix between policy and LD. It's basically the same work level as Lincoln Douglas, but with a partner. So, let's talk before we start filling in some of the blanks. I think it's interesting that you know that this is a brand new event. That it's been a little weird in middle school, yeah. So probably not, yeah. I would count the things, like it has to be at least probably 2 or 3. Yeah, good question. It's been weird that public forum was available for elementary debate, and it was available in high school debate, but they never offered it in middle school. And I've been telling the state committee for literally years, probably 10 years, public forum is more age appropriate for middle schoolers. Policy is honestly way too tough for middle schoolers. Some kids are good at it, but it's way too much work. And so I finally won that battle, and they have finally added it, which I think is awesome, because that way kids who did it in elementary school can continue in middle and high school if they want to. But here's the downside, and I think that this is an important thing that you need to know. So when I was a debater in high school, public forum was a brand new event created by the National Speech and Debate Association 2 years after I graduated high school. I graduated in 2007, and it started being a big deal in Utah in 2009, which means it is the one that I am least great at, because it's a learning curve for me this year. This is a brand new thing for me. So the reason I'm telling you that is if you choose to do it, I'm not that good at it yet. I will get there, just like I'm really good at all the other ones, but I'm not that good at it yet, okay? And so there might be some things that are a little confusing for me and for you, and we're gonna have to figure them out together. And I know that's a little bit weird. Okay, so just like yesterday, if I see anyone on games, which you guys didn't, which was very impressive, then I will make everyone shut their Chromebooks and we won't fill out the notes until the end. But you guys did a good job yesterday. Also, today's the last day of bribery. You get all 5 pieces of candy. So this is your first, pay attention to the underlined stuff. So everyone go ahead and turn around your screen. Underlined stuff. So public forum debate is a 2-on-2 team event. And it's focused on 3 big things. Evidence, that's the first blank on number 1. Reasoning, and communication. Evidence, reasoning, communication. Now, I'm going to be going pretty fast. If you aren't following along and you're not paying attention, that's going to be your bad, because you know better by this point. We've done this enough times now. Evidence, reasoning, and clear communication. The other thing I want to point out to everybody, just to make your notes life a little easier, look on the screen. See how it says this is the presentation? So you could have this same presentation open, and you could flip between these 2 things, and that might make your life easier. Okay, next thing, yeah, for sure. So, we do need to talk about partners on this one. I have told everybody that will listen to me, I think public forum is now going to be the most popular event because it is actually debating. You get to work with a partner, and it's not as hard as policy. But here's the thing about partners, and I mean this from like the bottom of my soul. If you pick a partner just because you're friends with them, you're probably not going to win. And I know that sounds really harsh, but the reason why is you'll get too distracted by each other. If you want to actually take down Indian Hills and Eastmont and you want to have that fame and glory, you need to pick someone strategically. Someone that, like, I know they're not going to just leave me. I'm not, like, dragging them through the mud. Like, they're actually helping me. The other thing I think it's really important that you consider is that your partner has the potential to either really hurt or really help you, right? And so you want to be thinking, there's probably going to be times as partners where we disagree on things, right? Like maybe we have this strategy we want to try, or we have a certain argument we want to try, but what if we really, really disagree? And so that can be tough for people who are really good friends with each other. When they have disagreements, we don't want you to stop being friends. So I need you to be thinking about that. Okay, so we're going to move on to a little bit of just wrapping our brain around public forum, okay? What does it look like? How is it different than the other types of speech and debate?
Commonly referred to as PF, is a style of debate that prioritizes critical thinking, research, and a deep understanding of domestic and international policy. The motion, or the topic being debated, is worded as a resolution, such as resolved. Free trade benefits all nations. There are two teams of two debaters, representing the pro and con sides of a proposal.
And so that is one of the differences. In public forum, it's not called aff and neg, usually. Some judges will accidentally call it that, but it's pro and con, agree, disagree. So that's a difference.
Resolution. Each team gives 4 speeches. These are the constructive speech, the rebuttal speech, the summary speech.
So a little different than what we've seen.
Speech. The first teammate delivers the constructive and summary speeches, and the second teammate delivers the rebuttal and final focus speeches. All public forum debates are prepared, meaning that teams have weeks or even months in advance of the tournament to research, prepare, and practice their arguments. But since they won't know which side they are defending, teams will need to prepare for both sides. Before the round, teams will flip a coin to decide who will represent each side.
We don't do
and
this
which
in our
team will
district.
speak first.
Okay,
In the
I
construct-
feel like that is enough of that one. Then I have another really quick one. Again, we're not going to watch the whole thing, just so you can kind of see it in action. Just a little bit. Doing great, you guys. Keep it up.
Are the judges ready?
2 versus 2.
Starting now. Medial first.
Public forum debate, or PF, is a 2-on-2 debate event. Teams debate against each other on a resolution or topic that reflects current events. Because PF is designed to be an open, accessible debate, everyone should feel comfortable judging the event.
That's one of the things that I love about public forum. So yesterday I told you that Lincoln Douglas was created because policy got so crazy. But again, guess what happens? Then all of the policy things, like reading too fast, started happening in Lincoln Douglas. And then people stopped wanting to do Lincoln Douglas. So then they created public forum, but that is a rule that is very strictly enforced. You are not supposed to read too fast. You're not supposed to have your arguments be too complicated. One of the biggest rules in public forum is that anyone in the world could judge you. They don't have to be a debate expert. So you're not supposed to be too fancy, read too fast. It's supposed to just be good, down-home debating. So I like that.
Reflected in the name, public forum. The objective of each team is to convince you, the judge, their side of the resolution is preferable.
Or topic.
As the judge, you evaluate opposing teams' arguments and determine who most effectively argued their position. It is important to note that your role as a judge is to evaluate...
Okay, so let's break down a few more things here. So the next thing is the topic. So this is the next thing on your notes. Now, I'm going to be very honest with you, because I think it should be part of your decision whether or not you want to do public forum. I don't like this topic, which is weird. As a human, a real adult living a life in the world, it's important. But as a teacher who was teaching 11, 12, 13, and 14-year-olds, having you think about the healthcare system is not all of that. It doesn't make that much sense to me. It was possibly going to be a different topic, and then I finally heard back from the state committee last night, and they're like, no, we're doing this one. So basically, you guys have never had to deal with insurance before, right? Like, a year and a half ago when I messed up my elbow really bad and I had a surgery that was really intense and I was in the emergency room like 3 different times and I had 6 months of physical therapy. I dealt with my insurance company a lot because this ended up costing about $26,000 just to have broken my elbow this badly. I didn't have to pay for all of it because thankfully I have a job where I have insurance. But even then, I still had to pay a big chunk of that, and I had to kind of fight with the insurance company that they had to provide certain things because I'm paying for insurance. You guys have never had to deal with that, right? You might have been injured before. You might have had to be in the hospital before, but you've never had to, like, call your insurance company. You've never had to read through the rules of your insurance, and that's really what this is. And so that's why I don't really like it for middle school, but it's one of those things that's out of my hand. I don't have the choice of picking the topic. This is chosen at the state level. So, that being said, if you do public forum, you don't have a choice. This is the topic. So if you don't like this topic, maybe choose not to do public forum. Like, in my opinion, I think the LD topic is way more debatable, and way more interesting for middle schoolers. So that's my opinion, okay? But the topic is, so resolved means topic. And again, look at the underline part. It's about the United States should adopt what's called single-payer healthcare. You guys don't know what that is, but this is what they do in like Canada and England. They have this system of healthcare. So I have a video to help you understand because this is not something we are used to as Americans. So watch carefully here. And if you're thinking you want to do public forum, this is when you're really going to try and think, do I think this is interesting enough to want to debate for the next 4 months of my life? Okay?
People have really strong opinions on single-payer healthcare. It could be the silver bullet that fixes our healthcare system, or it could be. But most people don't even know what single-payer means. So let's start with what we have. You can think of the American healthcare system as a series of tubes. We do not have single-payer healthcare. We have thousands and thousands of payer healthcare, and each of them typically pay different amounts for the exact same medical service. That's a lot.
Good question. Keep asking when you're not sure.
For every 3 doctors in the United States, you have 2 billing staff standing behind them, just handling all that paperwork that comes in and out of a doctor's office. If you think of a single payer system, it is just one tube of payments. All money flows from the government to the doctors. And it's actually pretty popular elsewhere. Medicare here in the US is like that. It pays all the healthcare bills for people over 65. But there's also a catch. When the government is the one paying all the bills, they get to decide what they will and will not pay for. If their system isn't funded well enough, if they haven't raised enough taxes from their citizens, that could lead to longer wait times and fewer doctors being available. Vermont right now is trying to set up the very first single-payer healthcare system in the United States. By one estimate, Vermont could save 25%, but it's also expensive. The state government in Vermont needs to raise $2 billion. That is a lot of maple syrup. But people really dislike the American healthcare system. It gets pretty poor marks from Americans. And if you look at neighboring Massachusetts, their healthcare experiment in 2006 did lead to Obamacare. So if this does work in Vermont, who knows what could be next.
Okay, so at this point, if you're thinking, like, that was weird and confusing and I don't like that, then you're probably not going to want to do public forum. But let me tell you a couple of the arguments. Even though this is kind of weird for middle schoolers to have to think about, there's some pretty good arguments on the pro and the con side. So be thinking about your notes. One of the pro arguments might be that the way we do healthcare in America means that there's millions of people who don't have healthcare insurance. So what happens if I'm a person who I don't have a job, where I'm lucky enough that my job provides me with an insurance policy, and I get cancer? What do? That's like hundreds of thousands of dollars. So that's a really good, strong pro argument. Another possible argument is that it could improve healthcare for everyone in America. That's a possible argument. There is some evidence, be fast because you're going to miss stuff while you're on. There's some evidence that proves that that could be the case. So here's the thing though. The con side, which is like neg, right? The side that agrees, the side that disagrees. The con side also has extremely strong arguments because they can talk about what happens in Canada and England, because this is something that actually happens. So they could try and argue that the government, if they're the ones providing all the health care for everyone, it's not going to do enough to protect everyone equally. It's not equal enough. People with more money are still going to have better health care, and people with less money are still not going to have an equal shot. And there is some evidence that might prove that that's true. Again, I'm not teaching you, this is what I think, this is what you should think. I never tell you my personal opinions in debate. I only teach you how to think. It's up to you to think about the evidence. Another, I think, really strong con argument, probably the most one, is how expensive it would be. If the government is going to pay for healthcare for every single American, it's not that effective and it costs too much money. So there's really good arguments on both sides though, okay? So this is your next, see, because it's underlined, so this is the next part on your notes. Basically, public forum has 3 big things. Did you prepare? Do you know about the topic that you can actually debate it? This is kind of a weird thing to say, but one of the most important parts of debating is actually being able to listen. And I know that sounds weird, but if I'm debating you, I have to really listen to your arguments so that I can effectively